She sat alone, shrouded in shadows, the darkness enveloping her like a suffocating blanket. Tears streamed down her face, each drop a testament to the overwhelming sorrow she felt. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight on her chest. Everything felt broken, lost, as if her world had shattered into a million pieces. Her reflection in the window seemed to mock her, a stranger staring back. Where had she gone? The person she once knew seemed like a distant memory. When had she lost herself? The question echoed in her mind, unanswered and haunting.
The silence was deafening, a void that amplified her loneliness. It amplified the emptiness that had become her constant companion, a relentless shadow that refused to leave. Memories, once vibrant and full of life, now flickered like dying embers, each one a painful reminder of what she had lost. They were fragments of a past that seemed unreachable. The world outside continued, oblivious to her pain, but her world had shrunk to this tiny, suffocating space. It felt like a prison, with no escape. She clutched a photograph, the edges worn smooth from countless touches, a relic of happier times. A younger version of herself smiled back, her eyes sparkling with joy. It was a stark contrast to the hollow eyes that now stared back at her in the mirror. She could almost hear the echo of their laughter, the warmth of their embrace. Those moments felt like a lifetime ago, yet they were etched in her heart. But it was a cruel illusion, a painful reminder of a happiness that seemed impossibly out of reach. The more she longed for it, the further it seemed to slip away. How could she ever find her way back from this darkness, this all-consuming grief? The path ahead seemed obscured, lost in the shadows. The thoughts seemed insurmountable, a mountain too high to climb. Each step forward felt like an impossible task. She felt utterly lost, adrift in a sea of despair, with no shore in sight. The waves of sorrow threatened to pull her under, leaving her gasping for hope.
The photograph slipped from her grasp, landing face down on the floor. She didn't bother to pick it up. Instead, she closed her eyes, surrendering to the memories that washed over her. Images, fragmented and fleeting, danced behind her eyelids.
She saw herself, young and carefree, running barefoot through a field of wildflowers. The sun was warm on her skin, the scent of summer in the air. She could almost feel the soft earth beneath her feet, hear the sound of her own laughter mingling with that of her friends. They were invincible then, or so they believed. The future stretched before them, a tapestry of endless possibilities. They dreamed big dreams, their hearts brimming with hope and excitement. Life was an adventure, and they were ready to embrace it with open arms. Those were simpler times, she thought, a bittersweet ache in her heart. A time before life had a chance to weave its tapestry of joy and sorrow, love and loss. A time when her heart still believed in forever. Days blurred into nights, an endless cycle of time that seemed to stretch on forever. She existed in a fog of numbness, her only companions the shadows that lengthened with the setting sun, casting long, eerie shapes on the walls. But even in the depths of her despair, a tiny spark flickered, a glimmer of something that refused to be completely snuffed out. A flicker of hope, faint but persistent, refused to be extinguished, like a stubborn ember in the ashes of a once roaring fire.
It started with a sound, the chirping of birds outside her window, a melody that seemed to pierce through the fog. She hadn't noticed it before, the symphony of nature that played on, indifferent to her pain, yet so full of life and promise. But this time, she heard it, truly heard it, and it resonated within her. A tiny crack in the wall of her isolation. Then, a memory surfaced, a moment of connection that she had long forgotten. A friend's words, spoken with such conviction, "You are not alone," echoed in her mind. "We are here for you," they had said, their voices a chorus of support and love.
At the time, she had dismissed them, her pain a barrier that seemed impenetrable, a fortress of solitude. But now, those words echoed in her mind, a lifeline thrown across the abyss, a bridge to something beyond her pain. She reached for her phone, her hand trembling, the weight of her isolation pressing down on her. It felt like an eternity since she had connected with anyone, her world shrinking to the confines of her pain, a prison of her own making. But the spark, however faint, urged her forward, a beacon in the darkness. It whispered of a different path, a path that led away from the darkness, towards the light of connection and hope.
"You are not alone," the words echoed again, stronger this time. "We are here for you," they promised, and for the first time she believed them.
The first step was the hardest. Picking up the phone, dialing the number, her heart pounded in her chest, each digit pressed with a mix of fear and hope. Her voice a choked whisper, barely audible, as if the words themselves were too heavy to be spoken. But as she shared her pain, the tears flowed freely, each one a release of the pent-up sorrow she had carried for so long. The words tumbling out in a torrent of emotion, a strange thing happened. She felt a connection, a lifeline thrown to her in her darkest moment. The weight on her chest lifted, if only slightly. It was a small victory, but a significant one.
Vulnerability, I discovered, was both terrifying and liberating. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, the fear of falling, but also the exhilaration of the view. It meant exposing my wounds, risking further hurt. Each scar a testament to battles fought and survived. But it also meant allowing others in, letting them see the real me, the parts I had hidden away, letting them share my burden, feeling their support, their strength bolstering my own.
And in their empathy, in their willingness to simply listen without judgment, she found a glimmer of hope. In their understanding, she felt seen, heard, and valued. Therapy became her sanctuary, a safe space to explore the labyrinth of her grief, to untangle the knots of her emotions. A place where she could be herself, without fear of judgment or rejection.
It's not easy, Alex, this process of unpacking and examining your pain. It takes courage to face the darkness within, but with each session, you'll feel a sliver of your strength returning. Each step forward, no matter how small, is progress.
Her therapist, a kind and patient guide, helped her navigate the treacherous terrain, offering tools and insights that slowly began to illuminate the path forward. With each piece of advice, each new perspective, she felt a bit more equipped to handle her emotions. She learned to sit with her emotions, to acknowledge their presence without letting them consume her. Prayer and journaling became her allies. To take deep breaths, to look at herself in the mirror, and see not just the pain, but the strength that lay beneath.
I began to understand that healing wasn't about erasing the pain, but about learning to live with it, to carry it with grace, to integrate it into the tapestry of my life, each thread a part of my story, each piece a testament to my resilience.